Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to be talking about all of the books that I read in October, but I'm also going to be including the books that I read in August and September. There's only one from August, but I figured I might as well just include them because some of them I want to talk about. So yeah, I'm going to start from August and then I'm just going to go in order of how I read them. The one book that I read in August, the only book I read in August, is Dracul. This is a book by Dacre Stoker, who is Bram Stoker's great grandnephew or something like that. This book is incredible. So this is like a prequel kind of to Dracula. It is about Bram Stoker, and it's kind of this non-fictional and fictional mashup of what happened before Bram Stoker wrote Dracula and what led up to him writing Dracula, and his journey. It just is so good. I don't know how to describe this book. It's just so good. And it's written in a way where you don't know which parts are based on his actual journals and reality and what is just completely made up, because this book is just so fantastical. But there are parts in the back of the book where there are images of pieces of his journal. It's so fascinating. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's written in a series of journal entries and letters. Most of it, I think. Some of it. I don't know. It's just really good. I would definitely recommend this. I am not being very eloquent right now, but it's just really good. The first book that I finished in September is All the Murmuring Bones by A.G. Slater. This book was really good. I haven't really thought about giving the books that I've read star ratings. If I were to do that, this would be a 5-star. And I guess I'm gonna do that. I'll just think of them right now. I'd say this one's a 4-star. I'm not really gonna get into giving them fractions of stars, but this is a 4-star. I really enjoyed the story. There were elements of it that were kind of predictable. There were elements that weren't predictable, and it was just very interesting. So this is about a girl who lives in a dilapidated Gothic manor with her grandparents, and she was kind of abandoned by her parents and left with her grandparents, and she's part of this family legacy, this bloodline, and they like to keep it in the family because they want to keep their bloodline pure. And this family has dealings with merfolk in order to keep their family business from going under, literally and figuratively. She eventually is forced into a betrothal to her cousin, and this is about her journey through escaping that and trying to find her parents, and it's just really interesting. The ending is fine. I feel like the ending kind of wrapped up a little too neatly for me, but it's good. It's 4-star. Good book. Oh god. Okay. Fourth Wing. This is the second book that I finished in September. Look, if you are one of those people who is rating this 6 stars, infinity stars, oh my god, this is the best book you ever read in your life, please brace yourself. Hear me out. Hear me out. I'm gonna say some things, okay? I'm gonna say some things. This book is not good. This book is not good. However, please don't. Did I lose you? I hope not. This book is not good. but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I would give this book a 3-star. I did pre-order the next one, and I do plan on reading it. I do want to know where the story goes. I like Xaden. Dane is disgusting. Violet is fine. I think that I went into this book with zero expectations. I didn't know what this book was about other than a girl who goes to dragon riding school. I didn't know anything else. And I think that that helped with my enjoyment. I think if I had gone into this book expecting it to be the best thing I've ever read, like people are saying, I think I would have hated this, honestly. This book is written so badly. The dialogue is so cringy. But this is like a guilty pleasure book, okay? It's not a good book. It's not. But I did enjoy it. However, the ending made me so mad. So mad. I think the biggest gripe I have with this book, other than the fact that it's just not written well, is the world building is all but non-existent, and the world building that is in here is so lazy, because essentially all of the world building that we get is just these snippets of time when Violet is like stressed out or trying to take her mind off of something, and then starts reciting historical facts. And that's just not, I just find that so unrealistic, first of all. And like, I guess you could make the argument that it's a fantasy book. None of this is realistic. But at the same time, fantasy books still follow their own line of logic. And that doesn't make any sense. Nobody would do that. And I just think that it was lazy. I think it was lazy world building. My main issue is that basically throughout this entire book, the author is trying to convince you that Violet is basically a genius, and she never delivers on that. There's nothing in this book that Violet does or thinks or comes up with that gives you the impression that she is indeed the smartest person in the room. Literally nothing. There are a lot of plot holes, and I'm not going to keep ranting about this book. I didn't hate it. I think there are a lot of things that in order to enjoy this book, like if you have a decent amount of like common sense, no, that sounded really bad. That sounded mean. I didn't mean that. This book had so much potential. So the premise is very interesting. I just think that there are far too many plot holes in here, and plot holes that don't read like, oh, this is something that could be explained in the next book and it would make sense. They're plot holes that just like, there's no way. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, 3 stars. I'm gonna stop on that. I could make a whole video on that book. I'm just gonna stop. The next one is Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. This book was really cute. This is a Frankenstein retelling from the perspective of Victor Frankenstein's sister Angelica. And she is kind of just tired of, she's kind of eccentric and kind of a hopeless romantic, but also like an insufferable, self-centered rich girl. And she decides that she is tired of not finding love with the townsfolk, so she's going to make her perfect man. And she does. And it's just kind of their journey in figuring out how to handle that, how to deal with that. Like him waking up with amnesia, trying to figure out who he is. There's a lot of character development from Angelica's end, and I just think it's really cute. 4 stars. Good book. This is No Escape Clause by Sophie Ryan. This book is look, if I am harsh on any of these books and these books are like your favorite, it's got nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Everybody enjoys different things. This book was garbage. This book was so bad. This is probably a 2-star. This is probably a 2-star. I would say a 1-star, but there's another book in here. No, that's not in here. Another book that I read earlier this year that was even worse than this. So I can't imagine that this is on the same level as that quite. I can understand why some people might like this. Kind of. Maybe. I don't know. I guess if I were doing like decimal points, I would give it like a 1.5. This was just not good. And I think this is part of a series. I don't know where it lies in the series, but from the way it reads, it seems like there's kind of this underlying plot that spans throughout the series, but then there's a main plot in each book that is a standalone plot. That's what it seems like to me. I couldn't really find, I didn't look that hard, honestly, but I didn't really find very much information on how this series works, but that's kind of what it seems like to me. The main character in this book is drier than a sandbox. She is so boring. I hated reading from her perspective because it's just so bland. She has no personality at all. So this book is about a woman who owns a secondhand store, and she employs all these like old women who are probably in like their 60s and 70s, I think. And those women have like a side business where they run like a private investigator business and they solve local mysteries. The old ladies in this book are a hoot. I love them. They're great. The mysteries in this book were fine. Incredibly predictable. Like, so predictable. But they were fine. But the main character was so boring. Like, why? I don't care about her. And I feel like we're supposed to care about her, and there's like this underlying like romance thing there's no romance in this book, but we're led to believe, I don't know where in the series this lies, so I don't know if this ties into other books in the series, but we're led to believe that she's like in love with one of her employees who's like not there. He went off somewhere else to deal with his ex-wife's death. And then there's another guy who's like a childhood friend who like the old ladies keep trying to get them together, but like they've already decided that they're not interested in each other and they're just going to be friends. But then there's a scene in the book where and I don't consider anything I'm telling you about this book to be spoilers, honestly, because it's just like, does anybody care? I don't know. There's a scene in this book where her and her childhood friend are at her apartment, like watching movies or something and eating popcorn. And she just like randomly, there's nothing in this book, like the whole time before this happens, they're telling you that their relationship is completely platonic. Like there's nothing happening between them. Yet when they're alone, she like reaches down and kisses him just for her to like ask him, oh, how did that feel? And then for her to go on this rant about how they can't be together because she wants romance and passion and like there's just not that between them. But like they'd already decided that they didn't want to be together, that they were just gonna be friends. Like that scene made no sense at all. Okay, we got too many books to go through for me to keep going. This book, not good. No. The next one I read was Gothicana by Runix, and this was, when I read it, it was on Kindle Unlimited. It's no longer on there, but I think that's because they're doing a pre-order for the hardcover of the physical copy. I fully intend at some point to purchase the physical copy, both the hardcover and the paperback, because I really want to own the hardcover. The dust jacket on that is really beautiful. I want to own the hardcover. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why first. This book is 5 stars for me. I really love this book. This is a gothic romance. It's like a student teacher forbidden kind of romance thing, but then there's also this, I wouldn't really call this dark academia. I guess you could argue that it is, but in my opinion there's just not enough of the like academia aspect. Even though it takes place at a school, I don't feel like there's enough of the academia aspect for this to really count as dark academia for me. It's definitely gothic vibes, and there's like some mystery, and there's a unreliable narrator kind of. It's really good. I really liked it. I binged that book in one day because I started reading it and I just couldn't stop. I will pop up like an image of the cover right here because I don't have the physical copy, but I want to buy the hardcover because I really want the physical book because I enjoyed it that much, but I also want the paperback so that I can annotate the paperback. I don't really like the idea of annotating my hardcover copies. I don't know why. I just don't. Anyway, that was a really good book. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Oh, we're into October. I finished Gothicana on October 3rd. Okay, so next one, Picture of Dorian Gray. I did really like this, and I think I'd probably want to annotate this. And I'll probably annotate my paperback, obviously, and then try and like track down a hardcover copy with a cover that I like. This book, I mean, I feel like everybody knows what A Picture of Dorian Gray is. This book is all about kind of philosophical discussions on beauty and vanity, versus like intellectualism and morals. It's very interesting. So Dorian Gray, it has his portrait painted, and there's a character in here that it's kind of a pompous ass, honestly. He thinks he's just right about everything. He is very vain and superficial, and he kind of shares his philosophies with Dorian and leads Dorian down this path of kind of worshiping him a little bit, like hanging on his every word, thinking everything he says is just like the greatest thing ever. And it kind of leads him to being a pompous ass himself. And things transpire, and eventually the portrait that was painted of him begins to change. And if you don't know what this book is about, I don't want to say more than that, but yeah, it was good. It was definitely pretty dense in some parts. Like, there are some parts of this book where, like, Oscar Wilde, did I even say it was by Oscar Wilde? He goes into descriptions of certain things, and those descriptions last, like, literally pages upon pages. And I am going to be honest, some of those I skipped right over because I was like, this is just not what I'm here for right now. But yeah, it was fine. I feel like, despite the fact that it's, like, really thin, it took me a long time to get through it. But I did like it. I'd say it's probably like a 4-star for me. A lot of 4 stars here. Next up is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This book was cute. Wasn't great. I'd say this is probably a 3-star for me. The plot was pretty predictable. I wasn't a huge fan of the romance. I don't like the main character. I think she's so irritating. Not through the whole thing. There are just like certain instances where I thought she was really irritating. I don't like main characters who assume the worst of somebody with no evidence and then form their entire opinion on that person based off of this one fleeting thing that they heard. And then just like kick them to the curb because of that. And then don't give them the chance to like explain or communicate. And that happens in here. And it was really frustrating. I read a synopsis. I don't remember if it's on the back of this or not. But like the main character is described as being funny. I don't think she's funny. I think she's honestly kind of bland. Not as bland. Not as bland as this. This is like the main character in here is like a cardboard box. The main character in here was fine. She wasn't boring, but she wasn't anything like amazing. Okay, let me tell you what this book is about. There's a witch, Mariel, and she is really good at like plant magic, but she's absolutely horrid at summoning. And one day she's trying to summon ingredients for a recipe, and she accidentally summons a demon instead. And that demon can't leave until he like convinces her to sign basically like form a contract for her soul. And she refuses because she's like, there's nothing that I want that's worth my soul. And she ends up having to pretend she's dating him because her mom like barges into her apartment while he's there after she summons him, and she doesn't want to like tell her mom that she failed at summoning again. So they pretend they're dating. And yeah, it's just fine. She has a narcissistic mother. And I think my favorite part about this is the two narcissistic moms like going at it. So her mom and then her best friend's mom are like frenemies. And they are just so horrid. Like they are just awful. And they're awful to each other, but it's hilarious. The two moms like going at it and just being bitches to each other is just like the funniest part of this book. It's really hilarious. I feel like the plot is a little bit predictable. At the end, something happens, and she decides that he's the most awful person ever, even though he didn't do what she thinks he did. And this is the part I'm talking about. Like, she blames him for something with like absolutely no evidence. Anyway, this was fine. It was cute-ish. 3 stars. There is a sequel coming out, and I do plan on reading that. Not because this book was so great, and not because I care about the character that one's going to follow. I guessed which characters that the second book was going to follow pretty quickly, so I'll just tell you because I don't think it's really going to give anything away. It's going to follow the best friend and then the demon mentor of the demon guy in this book. And I want to read it because at the end of this book, you get the first 2 chapters of the next one. And the first chapter is basically just a recap of the last scene that the best friend was in the book. And the second chapter is where things get very interesting. It seems like there's going to be kind of a redemption arc for I cannot speak right now. It just seems like we're gonna get a lot more of like the demon realm politics, and I find that far more fascinating than the stuff that's in here. And I hope we get more of that. I hope it's not just like a teeny tiny little small thing that's used as reasoning for him to be in the position that he's in. I hope we get more of like why he did what he did in this book and stuff. Anyway, this video is gonna be all over the place because I cannot with words right now. Okay. The next book I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses, and when I say this book has changed my life, that's dramatic. It's definitely dramatic, but also true. This is a 5-star for me. This book was so good. I ate it up. I just really appreciate the writing in this book. I think that the character development of Feyre is great. I could not stand her for like the first half of the book. However, I really appreciate that the fact that I couldn't stand her was like the point. You know what I mean? Unlike in Fourth Wing. Also, look, I'm sorry. I keep like crapping on Fourth Wing. I really don't mean to, but it's just like, you know, there's a lot of things to say. The people that are saying that if you love this book, that you will really love Fourth Wing. What? I'm sorry, did we read the same 2 books? 'Cause no. But yeah, I really love this. I don't really have much to say about it, but I did really enjoy it. Mostly don't have much to say because I'm trying not to continue rambling. The next book I read was it was a Kindle Unlimited book. It's called Before You Sleep. I'll put the little picture of the cover right here. It was a horror short story anthology. It had 3 short stories in it by the same author. And I think they're all by the same author. Yeah. They were fine. They were a little creepy. Nothing like super horrifying. I think they kind of get less horrifying as you go on. Like the first one is the creepiest and the scariest, and then like they get less creepy and scary as you go on. I feel like at least the first one could have benefited from being longer. I think that the kind of like mystery and not really knowing what is happening, what the beings are, is kind of supposed to be part of like making you uncomfortable, but I feel like it kind of came across as the story not really being as fleshed out as it could have been, even as a short story. But I did enjoy it. I'd say it's probably a 3-star though, for the like whole thing combined. The next thing I read was A Court of Mist and Fury. This was also a 5-star. I cried so much in both of these books. These books ripped my soul out and tore it into pieces right in front of my eyeballs, and then mushed it up in a ball and shoved it back into my body. Yeah, that's how those first 2 books went. Really, really good. And then the next thing I read was Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shay Earnshaw. This book took me longer than it should have to read because it kept putting me to sleep. And I don't know why. I didn't find it boring. It wasn't boring. It was a cute story. But the whole story, a lot of the story follows, like, the storyline is like Sally is trying to undo a mistake that she made that caused all of the people everywhere, like in Halloween Town and all the other holiday towns and in the human realm, to be put to sleep by this evil Sandman. And I think just all the talk of like sleep, and like she went to, I don't remember what the realm was called, but the land of like the sleepy realm. All this talk of like lavender and fluffy clouds and like dim lighting just kept putting me to sleep. But it was really cute. This is probably a 3-star. So there's that. The next book I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one, the ending had me ugly crying for like 2 chapters straight. And the thing is, I kind of knew where it was going, and I knew that it would be righted. I just knew it would. I just knew it would be righted. But I still cried so much. I cried so much. But even with that, this book is still, I really enjoyed it, but compared to the other 2, this is a 4-star for me. Which is interesting because I could have sworn like I saw some like rankings of this series. A lot of people were ranking this one as their favorite, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were. Or maybe it was the last one they were ranking as their favorite. I don't know. But this one was just a 4-star for me. Have also read A Court of Frost and Starlight, but I'm not going to talk about that today because I technically finished that in November. I think today, what is today? Like the 6th? It's November 6th. So I'm going to talk about that in my November wrap up, but I did finish that. I have not finished the 5th book, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not in a rush to read that because I know which couple it's following, and I'm going to be honest, I don't like her, the main female character. I don't like her. I think she's awful for no good reason. I think she's just a horrible, horrible person. I don't know if she's a horrible person, but the way she treats people that haven't done anything wrong to her just really pisses me off, honestly. I understand people being like, characters being standoffish and being rude and like pushing people away for certain reasons. But when you're just an outright bitch to somebody who has done nothing but be good to you, like, I'm just not into that. And I don't think any amount of character development or explanation of her reasoning is going to make me be okay with that. So I'm not in the biggest rush to read that story, honestly. But I will. I'll read it this month. It's just not top priority. Anywho, after A Court of Mist and... No. Is that the last one I read? Is this the last book I read in October? Okay, I guess it is. This is the last book I read in October. So, how many books did I finish in October? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I finished 8 books in October, 4 in September, 1 in August. My reading has definitely picked up. I have no idea how many pages I read in October. I'm not going to sit here and figure that out right now. But that's everything that I read. This video is probably way longer than it should have been because of all my rambling, but I hope it was enjoyable in some way. I am going to film my November TBR after this. And also, I wish I was already recording my November wrap up because I just finished a book. I've read 3 books in November so far. This is the 6th. And I've read 3 books. 2 of the books, one I finished yesterday and one I finished today. Both of them I binged in 1 day each. I love these books so much and I really want to talk about them, but I'm not going to. So there's probably no point in me even saying that, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was really rambly and there's probably a lot of me saying, I apologize for that. Sorry. So, if you'd like to see what I plan on reading in November, at least some of it, what I plan on reading in November, stay tuned. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Yeah. Do all those things. All the things. Just do them. And I'll see you next time. Okay. Bye.